Okay, this time for real. Welcome to the much longer video. I'm still Michael. I still live in Fraser, Colorado, and we're still going for a drive. Here we go. Didn't mean to turn the turn signal on. It is a nice, crisp Sunday morning. July the 16th, I think? Whatever Sunday is around that. I know it's Sunday. I don't remember exactly what the days of the week are, but it's about 6:30 in the morning. It's a little chilly, and that's why we're going for a drive. That's not really why we're going for a drive, but that we are going for a drive. The point is, I've been talking about it long enough. We're going to show the area. This is the area. This is the Meadow Ridge condo complex. And one of these buildings in here, I've been living in for a year. It's been a full year. We moved July 15th, I think was the actual date, or right around then. Whatever the weekend was around when the 15th happened, back in 2022. Because our current living situation in Wyoming was good through the end of July, and the place here did not want to wait that long. The landlord was like, I really can't swing that. You know, we got people who are lining up. It's like, come on. This was the only option. What just fell? Oh, okay, it was that. This jank little setup over here will be replaced before we ever do this again. That is for sure. But that was the best solution I had that I could come up with at this point in time. We were driving down the hill. This hill, when it snows, is fun. No, not really. But this is the town of Fraser. And the circus is in town. If we look out, hopefully the side camera is working. We will see that there is a big circus tent put up. They do that. There's also a large field over there. You've got mountains all around. We are going out to the right, which is west. It's like northwest, kind of. Because if you go to the left, you basically go off the mountain. Not like a Looney Tunes cartoon where you just drive and then drop, but you go down the mountain, and we're not going down the mountain today. I'm going to try. We are moving down off the mountain, and I'm going to try to set up a camera, maybe on the moving truck, maybe just here in my car. I've actually got the mount already set up. I might just do the GoPro so you can see down the mountain when we move in a few weeks. In less than 2 weeks. Oh, the move is upon us. Anyway, so you come down out of that condo complex up there. You come down here. There is a hotel here in Fraser, and over to the side is an expensive grocery store. I know it's an expensive grocery store because being right there, that's where we got the majority of our groceries for the last year. Here we go. Man jogging. Do not cross the street just yet, so we can go around. We are good, and away we go. The little town of Fraser. There is not much here, to be honest with you, in the regards of what we were able to do. As far as shopping, you pretty much have a Safeway, which is the expensive grocery store I mentioned, and then, there's some small specialty shops, like there's a bike shop. Never really went in any of these. I don't know too much about all of them, but where did I go? All of these places. I mean, I wasn't going in places anyway for the most part over the last year. I went into the UPS store to ship some packages. The post office, which is coming up here on the right. There's a lot of little bars, microbreweries, things like that. There's Ace Hardware. Okay, I could have, if I needed hardware stuff, just order everything online, unfortunately, with that. Yeah. There's post office. You might be able to see that out this camera, but we'll see it on the way back with that. Anyway, and now we're basically outside of the town of Fraser. That was it. Small little town, especially when you're in the middle of it. We'll drive back through all of that. But away we go. Let's see. There is a sign. Let's make sure. Speed limit's gone up to 55 now. Wildfire in area, do not report. Got it. Got it? Yes, there is. Not too far up above. Oh, is that? I hope that's not. I can see out the window that you cannot, unfortunately, and I do see smoke rising, but it's white, and it's... Where's the Colorado River? Merging, no one coming. It might be... I don't think so. No, I think the river's that way, isn't it? The river's on that side, unless it... We don't cross back over it until we get all the way... Yeah, no. I was wondering if it's coming up off the steam of that, but no, that's just somebody's property over there. With some white smoke. Let's get up to the speed limits and make sure we're not annoying anyone as we drive safely. Okay. This is going to be a long drive. And I will need to take drinks occasionally. This is the highway, the main highway. I was going to look when we turned so I actually knew what the number is. I don't remember. Is it 40 or 25? Something? It's so smaller. It's not a major highway, but it is the highway that takes you through this area. And they do a pretty good job of keeping it plowed during the winter. The whole point of this video, as you're probably seeing throughout the drive, is that I did this before about 6 months ago, and that really helped cement that I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it when we moved to Wyoming. I wasn't really making videos or anything when we left Georgia, but traveling, moving, things like that, showing a scenery and landscape is something I'm interested in. Possibly icy roads. Yeah, it's possible. And so we went out about 6 months ago, and we went for a drive. We actually did a similar setup. I had a different mount for this camera over here, out the side, and I used that to record out the side. So I'm duplicating that so I can more or less do hopefully a 1-to-1, and then the GoPro out the front. And then my phone did not record us because there wasn't us in the car. My phone was on Discord as a camera for the my siblings in our family group Discord, so that we could chat and show it off in the middle of winter, which January was probably close to the middle of winter. I think it was around January. I don't remember exactly. All I did was record and then save all the footage and put it on the hard drive and back it up. That way, we'd have it. We are now entering a new town. We're coming over this ridge here. Slowing down. You gotta slow down as you go through these small towns here. Well, I have to slow down. Apparently the people behind me want to go faster. You don't need to get that close. Anyway, this is the town of Tabernash. And one time I heard one of the locals say, Tabernash is where you get your hash. Now, that sounds pretty old to me. There are weed stores all over the place, and I think there are 2 in this town. There's a big one that we just passed, and then I think there's another one up here. I don't know. Definitely never frequented any of those. That's not for me. I don't like the smell. I don't like what it does. I don't really like anything about it, and it's annoying. It's fine, but it is slightly annoying how legal it is here. It's not really a degree of how legal it is. The fact that it is, yeah, there's another dispensary right there. It is legal, which means a lot of people come to where I live. I live in a condo. I live right there. There is a ski resort just on the other side of Fraser that we'll drive past later. This is the town of Tabernash. There's a post office. There's some houses and things. It's not a whole lot. Then we're done, and we get back onto here. We're driving out this way in particular because I really like this drive. This is where I went the majority of time. Out here is pretty much everything I went to. We're not going to go as far as the usual park. If you watch any of my other videos or are familiar with anything else that I do, I explored this area quite a bit over the last year, going out looking for wildlife, taking pictures and things like that. The majority of where I went, I found one particular place and then stuck with it because that was where I was getting the best results as far as seeing birds very often and other types of wildlife. Is a really good spot. That's all the way out in Hot Sulphur Springs, which is a couple towns over. We're not going quite that far today, but I do like this drive. This is a very nice, pleasant drive. This is what we did before. We also kind of doubled up. When we came out here before, there's another grocery store. The 2 grocery stores in the entire area. The other one is out this way about 20 minutes. And so if Safeway didn't have groceries, which was pretty much every week, they were always out of something or couldn't find it or whatever. And then my partner would go in and she would then go into the store and go, oh, look, it's right here. Anyway, that was pretty constant. We had much better results, but it was much further away for to get to the other grocery store. Anyway, that's what we did that day when we went out during the snow. We did it as a specific thing. It was like, well, we need to get this stuff anyway. I've been wanting to record this area during the snow to show the contrast between winter and summer here, which is, I think, really interesting. And that was, so we kind of did all in one. We were like, hey, who wants to see us drive around here as part of this? We'll stream it on Discord as long as there's internet, which there is for most of this drive, at least along the highway. There's some dead zones, like the place behind my apartment where I sit in my car. There's just no internet, which makes things like cleaning your car and having music playing fun. Anyway, Tabernash, the town that we just drove through. Little bitty thing, basically nothing there as far as that goes, but it's there on the way. A lot of this area exists because there are the ski ranges around here. There's a lot of, I don't think ski range is the right word. There's a lot of ski resorts. There's a lot of skiing, and people come here for that. What we have in our area, especially the place that we are currently renting, was an Airbnb before we rented it, and it will go back to being an Airbnb, I assume, after that. But the lady was looking for a long-term rental. We wound up here because my significant other Bonnie got a job in this area. She is a public educator and got a job at one of the schools, and so we had to then find a place to move. And we looked over the course of 2 months and found one place that would even basically hear us. Or like didn't get rented immediately. That was the biggest problem, is that they would go up. A lot of people in this area own the property. All right, are you guys going faster, or are you getting in behind me? What are we doing here? Because the road's about to run out here. This guy's going to jump along and speed. Go. Now I can speed back up. People don't drive very slowly in the mountains, that's for sure. I mean, the speed limit is 65, and I regularly see people passing me doing far, far more than that. But they do have 2 spots where the lanes on both sides open up for an easier passing, an actual passing lane, as opposed to just having it open where you can. It's pretty wide open, so it is definitely possible to pass people without too much trouble. Anyway, the point is that we get a lot of people. It is constantly busy in the area that we live because it's all short-term rental, Airbnb type things, people showing up doing that. There's a couple, we've got some neighbors who actually rent long-term and they own the place and they don't rent it out, which is nice for us, I guess, if you want to, they come and they're a lot more respectful than the people who are coming and partying every weekend and things like that. It's been quite a time. There are a lot of people up here 4th of July. It has been slamming, but it pretty much is busy all the time because we just live in that kind of complex where people are constantly coming and going. And when people are here and they're gonna do what they're gonna do, I'm sure the liquor stores up here do quite a lot of business. Again, never visited any of those. I don't really drink. And the dispensaries, I don't smoke. But boy, is that a strong smell. It is always very strong. And the one major downside to where we live, there is no air conditioning in those buildings at all. So the best you got is open the windows in the back, open the sliding glass door to your porch in the front, and let it blow through and hopefully create a cross breeze to keep it cool. And it really doesn't do that. I've got fans going and everything, but it still gets up. I think this past week we pushed, I don't think it was 80 inside. Our thermostat inside read 78, and that is very uncomfortable to me. I've gotten quite accustomed to it being below 70 degrees most of the time, and fine with that. We left the heat on, was it in the 60s? Was it like 68 or maybe 69 so that I could say nice? Here is one of my favorite views. Right around here, you come out of the trees, you turn, and it's just open. And you see all of this. This is the reason why I came out this way every time. We had some nice mornings sometimes when you would see a nice... I didn't get out, unfortunately, in time. I had a lot of trouble with the cameras and waking myself up at dawn after I've been packing everything. But this is the area that I just, like, you turn and it just opens up. And immediately I go, oh, wow, this is pretty. And I do. There's a pull-off spot right there. There are people who come out here and I see them taking pictures, like travelers, visitors, tourists. Anyway, I think that saying about Tabernash, I'm trying to bring that back around to there, it's kind of old. I don't think that's because there are dispensaries everywhere. I think that saying may have existed from before it was legal in Colorado to purchase marijuana. That is my guess. I don't know. I just kind of laughed. I'm not that social. I didn't want to talk to that guy. It was just a stranger. It was one of the people I've met as I was out walking around in nature and stuff. And he stopped, and, we get to talking because apparently me having a camera out there is a big talking piece. So everybody wants to stop and, chat. And some people are friendly. So I'm not trying to say it's a bad thing. But yeah, that was one of the things where it was like, oh, well, where do you live? I was like, oh, up by Fraser Winter Park area. That's the other town that we'll drive through. Little area. And he's like, oh, okay. And we talked about Tabernash, and that's when he said the thing. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I don't care. But, all right. Anyway, this is the mountain range. Why I like coming out here. This is the nice area. The next town that we'll come upon here shortly will be Granby. We will go out that way. Yeah, we got enough gas, so we're fine. I do need to fill up after this excursion before the move, but I wanted to get out and do it, and this seemed like the best weekend as it is. I really hope maybe tomorrow, I don't know exactly when, I will be able to get back out one more time, get to that park out in Hot Sulphur Springs, because that has been the best spot. I've also explored areas such as behind, like straight, we came out into Fraser and turned right onto the main highway. If you kind of continue straight to the other side of Fraser, there's an experimental forest out there that's really pretty. It's got some nice trails that you can walk on. I've been there several times because it's pretty close to home. There's honestly a park right there in Fraser. There's along the river. There's a trail that is really nice. Reduce speeds because they are doing road work. This is where we came up to. We have the City Market, which is the other grocery store. You got your Safeway, you got your City Market. Both of them were basically expensive. Safeway, I don't remember who owns Safeway. Is somebody about to buy Safeway? There's a big grocery store merger that's bad and basically creating a monopoly already. The one that already existed is just getting bigger, essentially. And anyway, City Market is owned by Kroger, which I was hoping meant it was cheaper because Kroger is one of the places that we could shop back in Georgia. Growing up and, not really growing up. Growing up, we were able to shop at more places because my father had a nice salary and was able to afford it, and he liked shopping at places like Publix. Publix being the most expensive of the grocery stores back in Georgia, which is what I've always equated it to. That for like talking to our family and things like that. If I have to describe the areas here, I'm like, well, it's like you only get a Publix to shop at, and they're like, oh, so it's expensive. Yes, and that's what it is. Prices not quite doubled, but everything took a significant hit when we moved here, calculating out how much the groceries were. I'm hoping we're moving out of the mountains, still kind of down near Denver. Is about all we'll say for now. Check back in a few years, hopefully, if it's more than a year that we stay there, and I'll probably record a video about that area and do a little drive around. I'd like to do that in all the places that I live when I leave and go, I'm never coming back here, obviously, to share that area, but I also don't just go out of my way to openly dox myself as to where I live. There's a hospital on the right. That is the hospital for here. That's pretty much your only option if you need healthcare things. But there are several times for my partner and her various health issues that we had over the last year. Been an expensive year for health issues, that's for sure. But this is the town of Granby. It's smaller. It's got some stuff. All these little small towns here. This one actually has more to it. I've always driven through here. I know that the food here is good. Question mark. See, that's the thing. Slow all the way down to 30. Where am I going to turn around? 30. Here we go. I guess I could go out to the lake. That's a little further of a drive, but it'll be nice. Why not? I wasn't planning on it. I certainly didn't do that during the winter. We only went to City Market there, so I don't have any winter footage of Granby or anything beyond that. I have winter footage of back there, which again, the main thing from driving this and going through this area and everything, that open range when you hit that point really made me go, wow, this is pretty. I'd like pictures of this and video from the car and things like that. I don't remember if at any point I may have, while driving, had a camera mounted that I did just to put that. I don't know for sure. If I do, that was in a vlog from sometime over the last year, but I couldn't speak to whether or not that was specific. There's a thrift store. You've got some little shops here. Let me get my right lane. There's some nice artwork on the buildings. It seems like a nice place with everything. You got a couple Mexican restaurants. that was the thing, with the groceries being as expensive as they are, and this entire area, hence why we are moving, of the many reasons, is so expensive. Like, oh, our rent more than doubled coming from a much bigger place in Wyoming. We had, in Wyoming, we found a place. We rented an apartment that was 3 stories because it had a basement. And so it was 1,500 square feet roughly. Each floor was about 500 square feet. And it's a decent amount of space. We had a pretty big living room. I had plenty of room in that basement. If you go back to videos from over a year ago, I had a nice big basement that I was able to record in and work and do all my work from home and all that. That was very nice. If you, I don't know why. I just thought I was looking and being like, oh, I'm not really talking about the buildings around. I was like, that's fine. There are people who are just going to mute it because this tiny thing will be in the corner, and then they'll be looking out the front and side cameras as I cut between them for whatever we're looking at. And they'll just put it on mute so they don't have to hear me talk, and I don't blame you for a bit. Anyway, we went from 1,500 square feet for $1,000 a month. We moved there in 2020, and that was the rate. And the landlord, for as much as they screwed us over in other ways and were a pain, stop at that gas station quite often. They come and go right there. But you go out the other side of Granby, and we're going to head up. We're not going to go all the way to Rocky Mountain National Park. That's too far for what I have the time for today. But I will go up, and we'll turn around right there at the lake. We'll drive right past the big lakes that are there because that's pretty. And then we'll turn around and come back and go the other way. Go out towards the ski resort, which is currently not skiing because obviously. Anyway, very expensive, right? Place in Wyoming, we got an apartment, 1,500 square feet, was bigger. It was more than what we had in Georgia when we were living there. I mean, it's definitely the biggest place that I've lived in since I moved out. I have moved almost every year since I turned 18. It's slowed down a bit, but I've still moved like 12 or 13 times in 14 years. It's been a lot. There's been a lot of moves back and forth and here and there and apartment hopping, one to the next, moving for jobs, etc. And we turn right here, yield, but there's nobody coming, so we're all good there. I think they set up right there on that corner. There's a gas station right there, and I think they set up there on the corner because I see the skeletons, the frames of tents. Those, I guess they don't leave out the actual cover because that's smart. Rocky Mountain National Park is 16 miles ahead. We're not going all the way quite up there. I think I recorded on a drive to or from Rocky Mountain National Park. I don't remember. When we came in, coming from Wyoming, you continue going out that way a bit. There's a turnoff to go into the National Forest, and that's the road that we went all the way through. Well, since I've turned, which was unexpected, I didn't think I'd be doing that until the road back. It's sunglasses time. Anyway, I feel like I've started multiple topics and haven't been able to finish it. I think the last main one was talking about how expensive it is here and the rent. The rent here, well, when we were paying, what, 12, 13, I think is what it got up to in Alpha. Yeah, that seems about right. What do we have? We had a little more than 1,000 square feet in Georgia. And we lived in Alpharetta, Georgia at that point. Maybe I'll go back there one day. That would be nice. I lived all over Georgia. That was the majority of where I lived for most of my life. And then a brief stint in North Carolina, and then back to Georgia, and out to Wyoming, and now to Colorado. Those are the states that I have officially resided in. That is some bright sun. I made a mistake. Hopefully this camera's not just complete. Well, that's what we got this one for. Hopefully that's going. I don't know. We'll see. Or it's going to be just this one for a bit. I'll still got a red light there. Anyway. Yeah, the apartment that we moved into, we lived for several years. My girlfriend and I. And we, what was it? I don't think it was 1,100 square feet, but it may have been around that. I should look and see. I unfortunately started looking when we were getting ready to move and finding places. Going through all that, I started looking at just how much everything has increased. Some of those places are insane. Everything is expensive. That's the other thing. They talk about inflation, and everything has skyrocketed the last few years, which has not been fun. I don't know how well we're going to be able to see the lake with the sun. I did not consider that. I have not been out this way in quite some time because I found another spot, and this one was kind of busier. I never really saw much coming out here. There's Lake Granby and further up is another lake. What is the other lake? Don't remember. There's a town right before you go to Rocky Mountain National Park, which is another place like where we live in Fraser, like all those. Granby seems a little different to me. This is an outside perspective. I've lived here for a year, although I just basically did a lot of driving through places. I did not go out and venture and explore and things like that because we've been going through a pandemic and it seems unnecessary. And also it requires money to do anything. You want to go, like I'd go to a thrift store. Thrift stores are fun. I like looking at secondhand and picking things up like that. There's not too much more to that. I'm not interested in eating out in public or drinking at all, and that's a large majority of what's going on here, or skiing. No, thank you. So I did not partake in a lot of the activities that most people would come here and do. I went on a lot of walks. I did a lot of trail walking. I did a lot of nature looking for wildlife. I've seen all kinds of things. I saw elk for the first time up in Rocky Mountain National Park, further along this way. I saw moose right out my front door. All kinds of birds. There are horses in the pasture next to us. So, yeah. Those are the things. But where we lived, I equate it to it's expensive. Finish that. We're going to finish one before we start the next one. It's very expensive. Where we live, it went from, there we go, sun's going behind the mountain. We were paying, I think it got up to the point where it was pushing 13, because of course every apartment complex is going to raise your rent every year because they know they can squeeze a little bit more out of you, and you don't really want to move, do you? Moving is a hassle and it's expensive, so they squeeze a little more. It's frustrating. But that's the same at almost every place I've lived at, except in Wyoming. Wyoming was the only place that was nice for that, and even though they screwed us out of our deposit for things that weren't true, nothing I could have done except, I guess, taking them to small claims court, but for the couple $100, it was definitely not going to be worth it. But for everything else, they were actually pretty nice and responsive when we had things break, and they did not raise the rent. They actually lowered the rent. I believe for 6 months we paid, was it $900? Did they drop it by $100? I think so. Everything was 6-month leases, and they couldn't fill. They had a couple empty units, so they dropped the rent down. And they were like, hey, we are dropping everyone's rent down so that it's fair. Here is where we turn. Right? I think so. Yeah. Bunch of mailboxes. You continue along that way to see more of the lake, but we're going right here because this is where I've been to before. We'll drive along this road so you can see water and mountains, and the sun is really bright and harsh, and I didn't think about that. My plan was not to come out here. But anyway, this is Lake Granby, I'm pretty sure, because it's, well, right next to Granby. Purchase and display your pass. Well, it's in the glove box. It's still active, and I'm just going to do a quick drive around. Otherwise, I'd grab it out and put it on the thing. There is the lake, part of it. It's big. You go along here for a good long ways. I've been here a few times to take some video of the lake and mountains area. Very pretty. Further along, there's even, if you for some reason are driving out here or you are using this to look, I don't know why, but this is the area. This is where we are. This is a very pretty place. You drive out here, you turn right before Lake Granby on a road that was unnamed, and I don't remember off the top of my head. Unfortunately, I usually have my phone plugged into my car or my infotainment center here. This is where we'll turn around. It'll be fine. Maybe we'll get out of that person's way. Usually I'd have that, and that would have maps and everything on it, so I could see where I'm going and such. But because we're recording, I can't have it in two places at the same time. Around, people coming out here to fish. We'll just pull in, back out, and go. Yes, I've been up here a few times. This was some of the first areas that I went to because I already had a national park pass from Wyoming, which gave me access to some of the national park things there. And then moving here, and obviously we had Rocky Mountain National Park, and then as it turns out, all the area here along the water also works with the National Park Pass. So I already had one, and that was why I came out here first. To finish the thought that we are going for 3-4 times now, it is expensive here. It is very expensive to live here, hence why we are moving, one of the reasons. I don't make a whole lot of money. I make more money than I've ever made in my life, and yet it still doesn't feel like all that much because inflation and etc. And we live in an expensive place. Colorado is an expensive state to live in as it is, unfortunately, but this is where she got a job, and it is nice for a lot of reasons. We are staying in Colorado after we move. But we were, let's see, in Georgia, it was, of all the places we went to, I think we started around $1,100, and by the time we left, they pushed us up to almost 13, and maybe it was a little more than 1,000 square feet. It may have been like, the number 1045 sticks in my head, and I don't know if that was our starting rent or if that was our square footage. I don't remember, but it was a decently sized apartment. It had a little sunroom. That one was nice. A 2-bedroom apartment like that, so we have all of the space that we need. And then we come along here, we turn. When we moved out to Wyoming, and as I said, 1,500 square feet for $1,000 a month was quite nice. We are turning, so pay attention. Nobody coming. Here we go. We're going back. It's very pretty if you go up that way. I'm not doing that because I don't want to spend that much time doing all this stuff. I don't know how long the recording is going to last here. We have plenty of room on the SD card, but being in the sun, these cameras will get hot and overheat. I'm worried about that. I do have the AC going, especially on defrost, to try to get it up on the windshield and keep that GoPro especially cool, because that's the main one. The side is interesting, but if I get the main one out the front, that's more than anything. This one it'll do what it'll do. I actually don't know if I need to stop recording at some point so that the file size doesn't get too big. Seems like a good idea. When I come to a stop, we're going to stop and restart that one. Anyway. So then we moved to Wyoming, we did that, and then we moved here. And here we went for $1,000 a month for 1,500 square feet in Wyoming, which was nice. It was a big place, had all the space that we needed. It was good for that. Then we came here because this was the only option. We looked and looked and looked, and most people who put it up, it rented right away. And we're trying to secure something so we know for sure that we can move about a month or two in advance. We were moving in July, and April or May, we're starting to try to find a place and get everything settled and get all our plans in order. And the only people up here who are not renting in the long term. They are not renting out further than that. They are not going, oh, hey, I've got somebody moving out in July. So no, it's renting right now, right here and right now. Everything. What is with people not planning in advance anymore? Because every move I've ever made has been decently in advance. No, I mean, a month seems like not enough time to me to get everything, beginning your search. And there are people who apparently, judging by how the market is and the amount of people that we found with the searching here and the searching in other places to find apartments, apparently people just move like that. You want to move this weekend? All right, let's go ahead and do it. What? And so they're finding things immediately. That's not how it used to work at all. But that definitely is what I've found for here. It's very sparse. There's almost no housing, at all. And that is something we get the things in the mail. Colorado does all their voting by mail, which is a benefit for them. And so we get all of the informational brochures and, vote for me. And a lot of that kind of stuff comes by mail, and they talk about what's being voted on. And one of the things especially was putting in a lot more affordable housing, because they're like, hey, we need people who will work at these jobs that don't pay that much. They make decent money from my understanding, and a lot of people will pick up summer jobs working at these resorts and things like that, or all the breweries, and they'll do that to pick up extra money and things like that, but it's still very, very expensive to live here. And so you've got a lot of people coming in with money to spend the money in this destination, and you got to have people who will work these jobs. Grocery store seems to always be short-staffed. I've seen a lot of hiring signs all over the place. Of the 2 fast food options I think we have in this entire area, Wendy's is one of them, and they always have a for hiring sign because they just can't keep people there. Can't really blame them if you can go make more money working another crappy job, by all means. But anyway, the point is that it's very expensive here. We moved up here and things skyrocketed. I don't know the exact square footage because we weren't able to find out exactly. This was kind of contact through a contact of talked to the school that she's moving to and going, it's really hard to find housing. And they're like, yeah, let us know. Or do you want a roommate? We've got people that we're setting up. It's like, no, don't, no. What we want is a 2-bedroom with enough square footage for us to spread out, like, so that we have all of our stuff. And we're coming from fully furnished. I had to get rid of all of our furniture to move here as well, which means here in the next week or two, we're going to start buying all new furniture for everything. But anyway, it's $2,200 a month is our rent. And unfortunately, that was the cheapest we could find too. Everything else was insanely expensive, like astronomical, but we are stretched beyond our budget, which is why we are moving. Looking at what it is realistically, we are far beyond the unrealistic expectation. Like if you look at, you get financial advice from financial advisors, at least what I've seen online, there's bird of prey, hawk of some kind, probably. Neat. I believe they recommend spending 25% of your income on housing. That's not realistic. That's just doesn't happen nowadays, unfortunately, especially depending on the area and the money that you make. It's just not realistic. And I think we were looking at trying to stay under 30 then for the next move, to try to get us back into a budget where we have the money to live comfortably and not be stretched so thin all the time. And here it's closer, like, 40%, I think? We're well over 30, I know that. I don't remember the exact numbers, I just remember calculating out and going, yeah, that's high. Ooh. But anyway, it's very expensive here. And the thing is, I lived in a lot of places in Georgia, and a lot of places that were not the nicest. Some were kind of ghetto, because it was what I could afford at the time, and I certainly didn't have any kind of idea about what to spend on a budget or what to, how to budget anything like that. I certainly didn't know anything about that. I could go back and look at what I've kept records of. I am very curious about what my rents were at the time. I remember one place in particular was really nice. This was the one that I looked up and made me mad. It was a 2-bedroom. I was moving in with a roommate after I moved out from my parents, and I moved in with a roommate. This was the second place I lived. I moved in with a sister first and a roommate. Then I moved in with just a roommate. And that was the one where you found a nice 2-bedroom apartment with plenty of square footage and all the stuff that we needed. Everything was great, and it was ridiculously cheap. It was $535, if I remember correctly. $535 a month. And I remember it being affordable because I was making minimum wage, and I would bring home like maybe $200 to $300 a paycheck. Not a whole lot. All right, come to a stop. We're going to stop, and restart, and nobody coming, and away we go. That person's turning. We go up here, and we're going back to the town of Granby. So, very expensive here. Very expensive. The best that I can equate it to in this area, you have resorts, literally. There is a resort that we are about to go to next. You have those kind of areas, and like we ate out, we got delivered. There is no delivery, period. It's just there's so many people, I guess they can't keep up with it. There's no delivery options. You cannot get food delivered, which was how we always treated ourselves, especially in Wyoming and Georgia. That was the nice, like, all right, well, here we go. We can treat ourselves to a little bit of food and get some delivery. Did not happen here. Literally no delivery options. While we were living here over the last year, they opened a Domino's. We've had pizza 3 times, I think, now because of that. Yeah, we got food maybe 4 times over the last year in total, I think. We bought food from some of the places. And honestly, not great. Not for what they, like, 2 people to get food, not an obscene amount. Trust me, I know what, like, I used to be a lot heavier and eat a lot more, and I definitely would treat myself and enjoy that and would go overboard. But one of the places I remember shortly after we moved, we got barbecue, which was a treat because I don't really eat meat at all. Neither does my partner. We basically, like, it's a very rare instance. We basically have gone vegetarian at this point with that and just gotten plant-based options and things. And so we got barbecue. And there was a barbecue place there in Fraser, and it was like $80-something for the 2 of us to get food. And it really wasn't good. It was okay, mediocre at best, just not great. And I think that's what you get in places like this, because they just pump out tons and tons of it for the amount of people. This place is always crowded and packed. It is a tourist destination. And I wouldn't really have had the words to put to that before I visited Destin, Florida, back at the end of 2019. We went over, and I wrote about this lane ends. I was in the wrong lane. I forgot. I don't usually go in that lane. There's a little airport in Granby. I went up there one time and watched the planes take off and just exploring, because there wasn't a whole lot of places to go and the roads were bad. So driving out beyond the main roads that get plowed regularly, not a safe idea. And you don't really want to wind up trapped somewhere throughout the snow, which the snow started in, gosh, what was it, October or something like that? Maybe even earlier. Was it August? I don't remember. I'd have to look. I looked it up the other day. What I know is wherever it was, it snowed until May. So 9 months back. I looked at it, I was like, that's 9 months of snow. You get a majority of snow here where you get regular snow. And now it has changed into the more summery conditions where it's pushing. I think it has gotten above 80 degrees up here, which thankfully is not too bad because, again, we don't have AC. Air conditioning is so nice. I miss it. I have considered on occasion, if it gets unbearably hot, to just come sit in the car and do a drive or just run the AC, something, because it's so hot. It gets really hot in the apartments. They are meant to keep in heat, which means during the summer they keep in the heat. Ugh. Anyway. Yes, at the end of 2019, we went to a vacation spot that I'd never been to. I've been to Florida many times. That was where we would vacation back in Georgia, but we would go to different places, especially places that my father's parents owned a place. So we would go and vacation there. Like that was just their house. A lot of the people up here own multiple properties, which, like, screw you. I think my sister put it best. We were talking about that stuff. No one in my family, all of my siblings, I mean, I am in the middle for age, so I got 2 older and 2 younger siblings. Not a one of us can afford to buy a house. And it's been like that. That seems to be a lot of the situation for a lot of people, given the climate of today, unfortunately. But anyway. Depressing. She put it best when she said something about, like, why kill? How about you wait until everyone has had firsts before you have seconds, kind of a deal? Something along those lines for talking about people who own multiple houses and turn them into rental properties, like you do. And unfortunately, that's literally what we have here. Our landlord made it seem like they live down in the city, down in Denver, and just have a place that they rent out. You know, they visit occasionally, but they're fine renting it to us for a year. And then once we get there and everything, and the cleaning lady just barges into our place. She's like, oh yeah, they rent, you know, we got multiple properties up there, and they clean all of them. So, oh, so you actually just do this? Cool. You just rent properties to people. Nice. That's real nice. And it doesn't make me frustrated at all, seeing all the people coming up here, just tons of money. Anyway, the food is not great for what it is. We had that. We had Mexican a few times. Was not impressed with the Mexican options. I mean, to be fair, Georgia so far, of all the places, had the best Mexican food. I've really enjoyed Mexican food. The pizza. Do we even have the pizza here? There's pizza places, but it's so expensive. And you got to go pick everything up and do that because no one delivers again. Anyway, talked about all that. For the most part, we couldn't afford to do it anyway, so it didn't really matter. But this area reminds me a lot of not those vacation spots that we usually would go to. Those, yes, you get a few tourist areas in there, especially that. You go near the beach and there's a tourist shop with souvenirs and things like that. And everything's expensive and everything, the prices are just more. That's what this reminds me of on another level. It reminds me very much of Destin, Florida, which is where we went. And Destin, Florida is a tourist destination, without a doubt. I actually was listening. It's funny. Just last night, as I was going to bed, I had on a podcast. I was listening to the Always Sunny podcast from the cast of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, And one of them specifically had mentioned being like, yeah, I just got back from Florida or something. And then he talks more about it. And then he said later, and he's like, Destin, Florida. I was like, I've been there. And that's what it is. Destin, Florida is just crammed full of huge hotels right on the beach. It is a destination. It is a tourist destination. And that is what Fraser and Winter Park especially feel like. Granby feels a little different. And then whatever the town is that I've forgotten the name, I apologize, but if you look it up on a map and you find Fraser and you go out and you go through Tabernash, you go to Granby, and then you take the road up and you go past the lake, past Lake Granby, and then the lake, there's a second lake that is the name of the small town that is there. That place also seemed really nice and like a tourist destination. I drove through that at one point during the winter. I didn't have a camera going or anything. It was just a fun little drive out. I don't remember what that place is called. I really wish I knew, but I have no way to find that out right now, unfortunately. Anyway, that place, Fraser, Winter Park, all seem like tourist destinations to me, as an outsider who just come in and go, whoa, yeah, expensive. There are people that live here. I've talked to some of them not too long ago, just last month. I was talking to a man who came. He was a repair technician for the dishwasher that broke. Dishwasher stopped working properly. It would pop the breaker every time it would run. That is bright sun. And the technician came out and we start talking, and he starts talking about the area. He's chatty, and we talk about the things there, and I talk about how we were already planning to move at that point. We knew we weren't staying longer, and talking about that. And I did that exact conversation there where I explained to him how much it seemed like Destin, Florida. And he goes, man, you are absolutely right. He goes, I've lived here for years. He came from overseas first and lived in Florida, actually, and like the very similar situation. Talked about that kind of stuff. Then he moved off the mountain, then moved back up here. And I think he said he was getting ready. He's like, we're probably going to move again and maybe go to Montana. Well, I can't really blame you given a lot of the areas and given what that is. And he said it's just boomed in both population and tourist destination type things. It has really exploded over the last few years. He said you would not recognize. He got here, when was it? Was it 10 years ago? Or was it 5 years ago? Something like that. He was talking about how long it's been with something like that and how you would not at all recognize this area. It has completely changed and just skyrocketed in population. And the amount of things that they put in. And yeah, we're going to drive past as we come back into Fraser. We weren't able to see it because it's on the, now coming back, it'll be on the left side of the road. There is construction going on, at least the last time I looked. Man, I went all the way to Granby, which is where we're getting a U-Haul from, because that is the only place here, and I forgot to look and see if they still have the big truck. I'm really concerned because it is not a U-Haul location. It's just an antique store that has U-Hauls, and that is where we dropped the truck off when we got here, and that is where we're going to pick one up from. And they were very clear when you were placing the order, being like, we can't guarantee basically anything, because it just depends on who has come and dropped off in that area. They won't, I assume in other U-Haul locations, if you go, hey, I need this truck here at this location, they'll probably send somebody to transfer a truck from another location if they have to. When we left Georgia, we were able to get the truck no problem. And so then I went and, picked up the truck, and they were like, we just are flat out of utility dollies, the hand trucks. And I had a washer dryer. I needed the utility one for sure. And they just didn't have any. It was like, if you go to this location over here, they'll have one for you. And, you'll have to drive out there to do that, which was annoying, but I did that and made the drive. But anyway, I'm hoping that they have something. I really wanted a 17-foot truck because that's going to fit everything. We got a 15 last time, and it was tight, but it fit. I think a 17 will do better. All they had was a 20. I'll take it, whatever I can get. I just need a moving truck of some kind. And I was concerned that they won't have any there. And we're about 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks out, like a week and a half from renting the truck. So every time I drive past that location, I look to see whether or not they have a truck for me, because the next closest place to get a truck is like 2 hours away. It's sparse. There is nothing here, if I have not made that clear. If you want to do things, you drive down off the mountain and go to Denver. That if you need regular amenities for anything, and like when we got here, we had to drive. I've been off the mountain twice now, I think. driven down off the mountain. I did not want to do it during the winter. I tried to avoid that, even though they plowed as much as they can. It is a drive. It's you are driving down off the mountain. That was actually something that the repair technician told me about. He was like, this was kind of a hidden gem, and all the people that lived here very much were telling people, make it, tell them that it sucks here. Tell them that Fraser Winter Park, tell them that the area sucks. Don't let people know about this place. Or tell them it's nice, but make the pass through the mountain, the drive up and down the mountain, sound as horrific and scary or terrifying as possible to avoid people coming in mass to this area. Well, that didn't work, man. They opened a ski resort. I don't know how long that's been around. I know it's been around forever because they have, we live in the condo that has been decorated for people who just come, rent it, go skiing on the weekend. That's the kind of situation we're in. So there's been a lot of, there are like signs, decorations. You get a lot of the decorations that talk about Winter Park and the Fraser area and the Rocky Mountains and all this area, that kind of stuff. And so, take a drink. Slow down because we're about to go through Tabernash. I have a wooden sign that's been in my bedroom that I took down because, again, I have recorded in various places around my home, and I did not want, it to say, there were like magnets all over the fridge that said where we live. So if I was doing something in the kitchen and it got caught on camera, hey, that's where you live. And a lot of places like that. A lot of things like that all around the apartment, condo, whatever. And one of them was an older sign that very much looks like it's probably from the 30s or 40s. Now, it may just be painted to look that way, but it's just slats of wood that have been, glued together and hammered to the back of, nailed to cross pieces in the back and then painted or whatever. And it talked about Winter Park, and it talks about, it's an advertisement for Winter Park and the ski resort. And it specifically said, like, rooms for, what is it? I'll have to look and see. It's like 5 cents a night or something like that. Something really cheap. And telegrams and, or like maybe it was just $5 a night. I don't know. Old, very old. Ski resort has been here for a really long time. And actually, interestingly, along the hallway, there are images printed. There are printouts. There are framed photo, word, whatever that would be called, that talk about the history of Fraser, which I found really interesting. I was like, this is kind of neat to learn about this area from where, and like, it was logging especially. People came up here and logged out all the forests that were here, destroyed that, took it away from the Native Americans. Funny you didn't mention that part, but it definitely did. I did some research on that. But anyway, the point is, I don't remember. It's very expensive here. I think it's a point I've been making for a while. Tourist destination, the ski resort, it's been building up. They've been working on construction. The complex that I live in, that area full of everything there's been construction the entire time. We've walked around the neighborhood, and they've been building up new buildings and working through the winter and doing all that. The town itself has had some construction. They're putting up new buildings. They're going to continue doing more. They just roped off 2 areas in the neighborhood. That neighborhood, like if you go sprawling beyond, you get some really expensive housing all around there. Some really nice places. I drove through them before. I don't know if we'll do that. We'll drive out to Winter Park and turn around there. I don't know if we'll go through. Yeah, it's 7 o'clock. It's been about an hour. Yeah, we might as well. We'll drive up through one of the fancier neighborhoods. Not the one I live in, but the one further up the road. I did that during the winter as well, so I've got the comparison between the two. Lost my train of thought. It is booming. They're building things. They have roped off areas in the neighborhood. Apparently that is the thing to try to keep out the riffraff. I don't know what the what the reasoning is or what the point is, but they have to, I guess legally, they have to put up and go, hey, here is our plan. We are going to destroy this section of forest and build new housing here for whatever it is. We are going to expand it here. If you have an issue with this, call and make your voice heard at this phone number. I've seen that twice now. I saw it while I was walking around the neighborhood taking pictures shortly after we first moved. further in the neighborhood outside of like the complexes there's all those condos and everything small crammed in together. And then you get outside of that and you just get everybody, all the rich people's houses, people who can afford multi-million-dollar houses up here in the mountains that are seemingly empty most of the time. I think these are the second, third, fourth houses for these people who have lots and lots of money and just come up so that they can go skiing when they feel like it, and then they own a house or whatever. It's not a lot of locals. That is a problem, and that is why they are doing the affordable housing, is that there aren't a lot of locals here who will work the job. People who can afford to work at a grocery store and also live in this area. Not a whole lot of people. Even though Colorado's minimum wage is $15 an hour, everything is so expensive as it is that it's not affordable. So you don't have that kind of lower income people who will work the lower income jobs and also afford to live here. It doesn't work. So they had to vote on something to build more lower income housing in this area. I don't know where it's going in. I don't remember from when that stuff was going on. Here is a huge building that they're putting in. This is going to be more housing, I'm guessing. I don't know, but that's the construction that's been going on here in Fraser. Just tons of ads for companies. I didn't actually see any kind of information on there about what it would be about. So I don't know. There's a bump in the road right here. The roads are not great in this area. I know that they have done some work and stuff. Let's see, somebody's pulled over here. Is there enough room? There is, because it's a turning lane. Cool. Some motorhome here. They do run buses. We haven't seen any today. We might see some as we go, because they do run, I think they run all the way out to Granby. I don't remember. They definitely are here, because I've got a bus stop like right across from where I live. They run all the way through here. We are now passing where we originally turned on. You've got, I don't even know, there's tons of little shops over there that I've never, Murdoch's. I don't know what a Murdoch's is. There's the tent for the circus that's in town. The park that I've been talking about is right there. I've been there many a time because I could walk right to it and just try to not disclose about where I go with that, because that was literally walking distance. There's tons of housing over there. There's a brewing place, more housing stuff, and then we start getting on the outskirts of Fraser here. There's a liquor store. I've turned around in that parking lot before in order to go back to that park because it's a divided thing. Fly shops, there's a lot of fishing going on here. And speed limit goes back up to 55 as we leave. That was the town of Fraser that we just drove through. I lived there for a year. That's been the whole premise of this, hasn't it? So we're going along here. Those are some ponds right there. I've been there to take pictures of birds along the trail as well. The river trail runs all the way from there, far, 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 miles down. I've walked most of it at some point. Not all of it. I've gotten pretty far down. It's a couple of miles, but I haven't walked the entire thing. I also have not walked the trail. I always thought about it, but it's that whole drive that we just did from Fraser to Granby, there is a walking trail that goes all the way along. That's like 20 miles. It's cool. People bike it, people walk it. I don't walk 20 miles. I'm not conditioned for that. That's a lot. There we go. That is where we will go on the way back to drive through the fancy neighborhood. That was the place that I did before, back in the winter. And we come up, there is Grand Park. We are in Grand County. A recreation center there, a community center or something like that. I don't know, didn't go. There's a gas station that looks far fancier than what it is because it's just a shell, which makes me think it was originally something else that got bought out. We are entering Winter Park now. Winter Park is the more tourist location of all of the tourist locations here. This definitely is more so. This is where the ski resort is that we will go to. Looking out the front, you might be able to see the paths that they have carved into the mountainside for skiing, and then during the summer they do mud stuff. You bike it, but they've got like a mud season. I don't know if they close for that. I don't know a whole lot about it because, again, I only lived here for a year and did not experience a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of tiny little shops all through here. You get a lot of little tourist-like destination stuff, some other things. There's a lot of food options here, expensive. I think the Domino's is right over there. Went there once. We've had Domino's a few times, but we just went this past week. got a little treat right before we have to really hit it hard on moving stuff, which is why I'm trying to do this today. Take a couple hours here. It's been over an hour now. We'll try to wrap it up here after we get out. Then I got packing to do when I get back home, and then next weekend is the last weekend, so that's why I'm thinking if I can do a little walk around tomorrow with the cameras, that would work. They're building something right there. There's a big thing. I don't come out to Winter Park all that often. They have festivals like every weekend. There's constantly something going on. There's something going on right there. There's a huge group of tents and stuff over there if you can actually see it, because the sun is so bright. I don't know. Yeah, Winter Park is bumping. There's always something going on. They got rodeos in Fraser and Granby every weekend. They have stuff here every weekend. When we first drove through, when we moved from Wyoming, we came 2 different ways. We were living in Casper, Wyoming. I don't know if I ever said that specifically. I meant to, because again, I wanted to do the same thing like here, but it just got to be too much. I was basically packing and moving on my own. When we did it last year, my girlfriend, significant other, partner, has been going away to college. I've talked about it more recently, and if you've watched any of the other vlogs and things like that I've done, she goes and has to go to college out of state, and goes away for several weeks during the summer. And last year, the way that everything was and the way it played out, our moving was basically right after she came back, like less than a week. She came back and then we had to move, which meant that I had to get everything fully packed up and ready to go on my own. So I did not have the time. I did not make the time. It was constant stress and packing and, trips to the thrift store. Had to get rid of all of our furniture. We did that after we did that. That's why we had to do it. We did it where we we moved right there at the middle of July, because that was when it was open here. Shortly after that, then we had to go back to get all the cleaning done and to get rid of all the furniture, because we took all the furniture to a thrift store. Road damage ahead. Now that's interesting. This will be interesting. When we came up the first time, I did not want to drive through the mountain pass, through the forest that came straight south. So we went south for a ways, I think. I don't remember the exact road, but we came up around Denver when we came up with a moving truck. I thought that would be easier and better because you have major highways the whole way, and if something happens with the moving truck, or you got to stop and get gas, or whatever the situation is. I don't remember if we went all the way around to Cheyenne. I don't think we did, but we could have. I honestly don't remember. It's been years. There's 4 or 5. It's been years? What are you talking about? It's been a year. Last year, we took the moving truck, and I said, this will be easier. It's slightly more distance. It's a little longer, but it's not too bad. And we came up the mountain pass with the moving truck. That way we were along major highways the whole way. Whereas the other path that we would go the rest of the times and any other time, we took the forest path, the mountainous forest, 2-lane, nothing at all. You get very little for gas or anything. If you get trapped, you're trapped. Didn't really want to do that with a moving truck, but I've done that in the car. We did that back and forth, and I took a video when we moved. We got the moving truck, emptied the moving truck, then we went back. So she drove her car, and I was in the passenger seat. Because I was in the passenger seat, I had my camera, and I was able to do some video out the window, and, it was what it was. It was the best that it could do. And it was like, this is as good as it's going to get, but I didn't do a lot of driving around in Casper talking about or showing off where I lived there and what, I wanted to do that. I had planned to do that, where I did a little drive specifically around Casper, around the area that I lived, around some of the spaces that I, actually drive through the town, because I lived there for 2 years and actually did some things in the town, and I knew a little bit about it, and I could talk and be like, here's where we got our groceries, which is kind of what I did here. But anyway, I wanted to do that as kind of a record of where we did live when we lived in Casper, but didn't wind up being able to do that, unfortunately. Now, here, clearly, I'm doing it, which is nice. We are approaching. This has been the little drive out through Winter Park after, and then to the, why is there a detour ahead? July through October. Now that's interesting. I need to look that up. Okay, let's see here. Is this the resort? Can I turn around in here? I don't really want to go to the resort. Drop off. Bus parking is up there. I think that's where I went before when I turned around. It was bus parking. Road closed ahead. Yeah, no, I'm just going to turn around right here. This is Winter Park. We're just going to come down in here. This is not where I did before, but you can see out the front as I turn. that is the, what do they call it, a gondola? Yeah, right up through there. We're just going to turn around in this parking lot and go back. Oh, bump, 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 bump. Yep, that's where skiing happens. Or currently it's mountain biking. I believe you put your mountain bike on the gondola and they take you up and then you bike down, which I can't think of anything worse to do. I don't like going fast. I don't like going downhill. I am afraid of heights. Skiing, not going to happen. Gondola with that, I did it when we lived in Georgia. One time, I have been one total time on some kind of lift like that, gondola thing, to go up Stone Mountain, or to go down Stone Mountain, wasn't it? We walked up, and then, I actually don't know, did I make it? I was young, but I was having I think we did it once, and then I said never again, and so after that, Denver I-70. Okay. All right, we're gonna turn around here. I think I did it once, maybe. We obviously went. There's a lot of stickers on that stop here sign. That seems really dangerous. It literally is there to tell you where you need to stop on red, because the road is not like when you're covered in, you can't see any markings on the road when it's covered in snow. And for the majority of the year, everything's covered in snow. Why would you cover that sign with stickers? Why would they not remove all those? It's just covered in stickers. Okay. It looked like, what do they call that? Sticker bomb? An aesthetic. I've actually seen some people do that where they take, I'm sure that started, if I had to just guess, like guitar cases, where people just cover them in stickers for various bands and all the things, and stuff like that, until the point where it is covered in stickers. Every inch of it is covered. And then I've seen that, manufactured then as a skin that you can put on, but rather than having to collect all the stickers yourself, which kind of takes away from them. I don't, there's a lot of things. It's a pretty mountain area. What was I saying? I don't remember exactly. We lived in Casper. I was going to do the driving around here. I'm doing it here now. This is where we lived. I never went and did any of that. Oh, Stone Mountain. I did. We would walk up Stone Mountain. I'm pretty sure I walked up Stone Mountain, and then we took the gondola, the ride, the sky lift. I don't know what you call it. The cable car. That's probably an actual name for it. We took the cable car back down. I think I did that once and had such a panic because of the heights and everything that I would not do that again. But we did, of course, we went back to Stone Mountain. We lived, maybe 40 minutes from it. I don't remember how far of a drive, 30, 40 minutes, probably less than that, because we visited there quite often. Got a year pass and would go and visit and whatnot. I wonder when that lane ends. I don't know. We're on 40. That's what I said. 40 early, didn't I? That was the name of the. That's the name of this highway. This is 40. Anyway. So yeah, no, absolutely not. Given the fact that it's extremely expensive, I have no interest in skiing or anything. Never. Oh, keep right except to pass. Is that what it is? All right. Well, I thought this lane would end, but I guess I'll stay on it. That's fine. I don't care. I'm just out for a leisurely Sunday morning drive through the mountain forest. And we come back along. There is a small pond there. I did not know that there was a pond there, but I never bothered to come out this far to that. What we are looking for is rendezvous. I think there's light, isn't there? I think so. I'll have to look. Speed limit was higher. Is it now? All right, reduce speed. Well, I guess you reduce speed as you go into town. Violators will be ticketed. Of course they will. Oh, that's right. You gotta go through Winter Park first. That's right. I just did this. Now you get to see the other side and out the front, or however I edit this together. I don't plan to edit this for a few weeks. Oh, it is the middle of July. I think July 16th is what I said at the beginning of this, and I plan to do 2 videos out of this. I recorded a short little thing so that video would be, like a minute or 2 of just a quick, here's this, and then the much longer one where I will cut in between them, and I don't plan on touching any of this for maybe a month, because this weekend is mostly packing. Next weekend is absolutely packing. Then we have, there's a huge festival going on. Tons of people. What are they? Oh, I guess that's a line to get into the festival? There's a lot of people camping out waiting in line at 7:30 in the morning. What were they waiting for? It's a festival. What? Interesting. I don't know. Don't take part in any of that. Be interesting with that kind of stuff, but again, all that just requires is money. There's plenty of things like that that I would do if we had money, but we don't have money. Certainly not for any of that. But this is the area. You get a lot of housing. You get a lot of people here. We were looking at some places in Winter Park to try to rent, but everything was extremely expensive. I mean, you talk about, we managed to find where we could scrape by, and I do mean scrape by, at $2,200 a month. All these places here are far more. $2,500, $3,000 for a single, 2-bedroom or something like that. Single bedrooms were going for like 1,800, I think, was the highest one I saw. And that was a lot of, you'd get, tiny little spaces for more than $1,000 a month. And I mean like 200-300 square feet. Single room. All you do is you need to go in that room, shower, sleep, not even a full kitchen to eat because you're going to eat at the resort and that kind of stuff. Like more buildings that they're putting up here. I assume housing. They don't really look it, but I don't know what else. I don't know why else they'd be putting a lot of stuff like that. We've crossed back into Fraser here on the outskirts here, and then I think at this next light is where we are going to turn. I think. Yeah, I think so. Well, this is actually turning too early now, isn't it? Is anyone coming? They are not. Oop. But that guy wanted to go much faster anyway, so it doesn't matter. Rendezvous. Come home to Rendezvous, New Mountain Homes. Welcome to the advertisement. If you look out your window to the left, you'll see a big field, and there's a giant caterpillar, what do they call that, a backhoe? No, that's the big one. I don't know the names of construction equipment. Isn't this a great tour? Don't you love going on a tour with a tour guide who knows almost nothing about the area? Well, you better, because if you've made it over an hour into this video, I don't know why else you're watching. It would seem pretty apparent from the get-go that I don't know this area that well, but I still want to show it off. This is where I live. Not here, but these are still some here down at the bottom. You get a lot of this condo area. I've driven through here, I think, 3 times now. It was one time where I just turned off one day. I had a little bit of extra time after going out looking for wildlife during the winter, and I drove through and I was like, well, this is... What? Is that a statue of Jesus? I guess that's a church. It's got to be, because I don't know why else there would be a statue of, I assume, a bearded man with his arms raised in robes. Probably Jesus. I don't know. All right, so come along here. I've been out here a few times. One day I just happened to drive out. Now let's see. I usually have my maps going, which will make this very interesting. So we're going to try. We are on Pioneer Trail. No, that was Pioneer Trail. This is Rendezvous Road. And I believe Rendezvous Road will take us all the way up and around, and then we will get back onto Pioneer Trail at some point. It kind of makes a loop, but there's a lot of side streets and a lot of ways that I could get lost doing this, which will be interesting because my entire navigation maps is this camera right here. So here's hoping we can do it on our own. I also know that this will, I have driven through it before and connects to the neighborhood that I live. I've done that once before. So these are still, like I said, down here at the bottom, you get a lot of the condo stuff just like what I live in, only they're not single, like we're all single units. No, it's doubled. I have upstairs neighbors. What am I talking about? It's 2 though. These are much taller. Like that's probably 3 or 4, at least 3. I can't tell if there's a 4th down below because it's on an angle like that, but I think that's at least 3 stories high that they cram them in here. You get a lot of these fancy, expensive condo. I don't think we actually saw anything for rent in this area. And once we found something, I stopped looking because it was depressing to go through all that and apply to places that then tell you it's available and then it's not. And then they take some, and taking people's money, and it's just a nightmare. Excuse me, it's a nightmare all over the place now, isn't it? But we get some fancier. You get this. I think we're getting to the point where these are houses now. Once you got down near the bottom, you got all the condos and things like that, and then you start getting up to the point where you get houses that are very fancy, very expensive. And we drive along here. It's a very twisty, turny road, but I did not mind driving it. There were a couple of dicey places in the winter when we drove it. That's what I did before. I did one day when I started saying that, just some extra time after wildlife outing looking for stuff. And so I drove through the area and went, well, this is really pretty. And then I came back. Did I do it one more time? I don't think so. I think I just did it the once. There is one specific spot that I'm pretty sure I get to staying on this road, all the way at the top where you can kind of see over the side. We should be able to, hopefully this camera's still going, we should be able to see out over, and you can kind of see the town of Fraser. Yeah, these are houses. That's somebody's fancy red garage there. I go nice and slow. Got some smaller houses. I mean, not smaller, but ridiculously expensive houses out this way. Then we go along here. Drove through that first time. Then I came back and did it again with my partner. And that was what I talked about with us doing like the Discord call. And we went through the neighborhood and this stuff. Yeah, here. It's here, isn't it? There might be two spots, but you can kind of see the tops of the mountains if we're looking at the front. And then you get a house right here at the top, so you get some little chimneys, and then you can start seeing the town as we go up and around. Well, the trees kind of block it. I think there might be another point. Where we come along. Go up this way. There is a stop here. Get some houses. Oh, do we go left or right? I think we go right. What is this road here? Pioneer Trail. Okay. Pioneer Trail. I think if I go right and then I go up this way and then we turn around and we come back, that will get us back down to where we started. I think. I basically have driven through. This will be number 3, I guess. If I'm trying to recount it, I don't think I did it more than that. I definitely did it that first time, and it was pretty, and I took some pictures. Yeah, look at that. Look at how far you can see out the side down there. There's the fire station down there. There's the small lakes outside of the pond, or the ponds outside of the trail. You get the whole thing. I think that big red building is the recreation center or community center or whatever it's called. Come up here, you get this ridiculously big house right there. Lord. And another one there. My God. It's so expensive. But yeah, this is the Mountain View Trail that I've looked at before. I've definitely driven here. You got these ridiculous... That house is all glass on the front side. Like, how nice would that be? That's probably $2 million, I bet. I know nothing about housing prices, and everything's only gone up, so I have literally no clue. But yeah, here it is. You got the stone wall on the side, and then it just opens up, and you're just at the top of the mountain, and it's beautiful. And hopefully this footage will match up with the footage from before, so that we can look at that and also look at it through the winter perspective, because I thought that would be really nice. There's a ginormous house right there. And then come around here. I think I turned around there once before because there's no parking. It's where they plow snow. That's another thing that's very different is you have a lot of areas that are just like empty lots right now, and people come and park, and then during the winter that's where they plow all the snow and they put it there because yeah, we get a lot of snow. I don't remember what the average is. Oh, hello, deer. A deer right there by the side of the road, ducked back into the forest. We get quite a lot of those. I saw a deer crossing the, when we started out today, we drove right past a big field that's in the middle of the condo complex, and there was a deer out there yesterday, or the day before. I saw a deer crossing. So I've been sitting out on the porch in the nice weather, enjoying my lunch. Dinner. Available home. No, thank you. Very expensive. Very, very expensive. Look at that. That's pretty. Some of these. They've got glass fencing all around. Man, that must be fun to clean. Still on Pioneer Trail. There was a game trail over there. All these trails. I wonder what it looked like 40 years ago. That, historically, has been some of the people who will leave comments on videos talking about how things have changed as I show off the area. And like, I remember when it looked like this, or I remember when this. I bet there weren't nearly as many homes here back then. I bet there were not. There's a real fancy house. There's a real fancy house. There's someone walking. Hello. Some people are very friendly, and others are not. Because you get that tourist destination, so you get people who are just visiting and not the friendliest. Usually, I've not. The locals are all fairly nice, except for one lady at the post office who really did not like that I had a mask on, even though we are in a pandemic. That was right after we first moved, and I had to go pick up a package. Gave me a lot of grief about it. Not too much. Far more grief from someone back in Casper, Wyoming, where, of course, they don't care. Anyway, get a lot of that stuff. Pioneer Trail, bringing us back up around. There's Buyer's View over there. It doesn't really look like a road so much as someone's driveway, but maybe that's just because there was a house right there at that. Maybe it was a turn and not the end of the road. It comes back up and around. Driving through the mountain homes. Would you like to live here? I know some people would, and it's extremely expensive. Get out of the sun here, and hopefully we can go back. I guess my windshield's not really that clean now, is it? I cleaned it before we started, I thought, and I did get all of it, so hopefully. Okay, there's a stop here. I think we just came back around. I think that was a circle, and we just put ourselves back on Pioneer Trail, didn't we? Or no, on Rendezvous? I don't know. Let's go this way. We'll find out. We won't get lost. No, not at all. Oh, there's the deer. All right, well, I guess we're here. Hello, deer. Wow, you had big ears. I guess you're a mule deer, but man, you had some really big ears. Yeah, no, we are on Pioneer Trail coming around. We may have just done a circle. I really wish I had a way to record. You know what? I will in just a few weeks. Whenever we do this next for the driving around stuff, it won't be until, I might do some driving around stuff at other areas, but it certainly won't be anywhere close to where I live for, again, doxing reasons. Yep, we're back where we were. Okay, so we'll just wind up taking this back down. Okay. So you've got all the mountain range. You can really see, hopefully, the camera's not exactly pointed, but you can kind of really see out that way the trails that they carved into the mountain for the ski resort. Those, there's still a little bit of snow left on the mountains, which is interesting to me. We definitely had a much later winter, and I know that for across the United States, and my job involves selling lawnmower parts, which people don't really break out their lawnmowers during the winter, so there's a lot of that kind of stuff. We had our winter products, snow throwers and things like that, selling a lot more. But anyway, when we moved here last year, it was this, it may have been to the day. We started on the 15th, and I don't remember what day we actually moved. It may have been close to the 15th. I don't 100% remember. Oh boy. I have always been super comfortable driving near drop-offs off mountains, like the mountains in Georgia, driving up through those the Smoky Mountains in that area and up into North Carolina and whatnot. Always been comfortable with that. Never had any issues with looking out and seeing a huge drop-off and being afraid of heights. Anyway, when we moved, we started our lease on the 15th. I remember that because it ran through a year to the 15th-ish again, and then we extended it through the end of the month, thankfully, so that we did not do what we talked about before with a whole moving as soon as she came back from college thing. We were waiting until the end of the month, which was better anyway, and it gave us more opportunities to try to find a place to live, which again, most people were renting for right then and didn't even have a lot of places, but we found one quite nice that's technically cheaper, but a lot more space. Oh man, the place here, it's like maybe 700 square feet. I don't know exactly. And like I said, $2,200 a month. The next place we're moving to is like $1,900 a month, which is still pricey, but she's getting a significant pay bump as well, moving to a better school. The schools do pay a lot more here in Colorado, which is nice. She's getting a bump with that stuff, so we'll be able to afford it better. And so much more square footage. It's like 1175. It's going to be nice. Very much looking forward to having space. I think we'll have a nice, decent-sized living room for all of our living stuff. We got one bedroom that we're going to put a bed in and that stuff. And then the other bedroom will turn into my office, I think is what we're going to call it, which will have all of my computers so I can work, and then a recording area for all the videos that I make and all of that stuff. It should be quite nice. I'm trying to set it up as perfect as I can to make me happy, because we have been so cramped for the last year. Everything in one place. No room to do anything. Certainly didn't unpack anything. It will be better. Something rattling around in my back of my car. Hopefully we are still going on everything. We are approaching the end of the journey, because I don't really have all that much else to show. I think I have one spot more that we are going to go to, and that is where we will end. Not really, it's just above that trail. Anyway, I feel like I'm talking about something before and I've forgotten what it is. But that was the Rendezvous, Expensive Neighborhoods. Coming back down now. It's very pretty. This is the nicest place that I found to come to throughout everything here. I did do mostly driving around. I didn't really get out and explore much or go into places, but of where we have lived over the last year and been to, I found quite a few nice spots. Really am going to miss that park at Hot Sulphur Springs. Huh. I'm not the best with directions. We definitely were on this road. We went straight, and then we went up and around, and we did that loop, and then we came back down on the same... we didn't stay on the same route. I guess that is what we did before, didn't we? When I was thinking about it. We did that. That is what you go up there, you get on the Pioneer Trail, and then Pioneer Trail takes you back down the other way. So you do the whole thing is a loop, and not just one area is a loop. So, yeah. Anyway, this is back down at the bottom. I've been here. This is how I found out about this place. The day that I found out, I was out driving around, and I went and walked the river trail in Fraser, the nice trail that's there, which is, it's more crowded than, I haven't gone there nearly as much, but I came over here and parked here because this is kind of at one point of the river trail, and there's a bridge that goes over the Colorado River here. I think does that split off? I don't know. I actually don't know if the Colorado River picks up somewhere else and this is like the Fraser River or something like that. Grows? I don't know. But anyway, I came here. I walked here once and then texted Bonnie and said, could you pick me up? I don't really want to walk back. It's like 2 more miles. So that'd be 4 miles in total. And I'm not really in the shape of walking a whole lot. I'd gotten out of practice of walking over a few months between the moving and everything. Back in Casper, there was that's really what I would have loved to drive through, and I'd love to go back there one day to do that. There was, right outside of Casper, the place that I went to the most was a state park, and it just had some nice trails. It was right alongside the river. That was a nice spot to go to, and I went there a lot. And I also went there a lot more. I walked there 2-3 times a week. I would walk the trails, and that was when I got back into a shape and muscles trained of long walking, because I was trying to build that up for when I go out doing wildlife stuff. So I would hike up a backpack with 20 pounds of weight on it and then walk the trail, and that was about 4 miles, like 3.8 miles, close to being 4 miles that I would walk. And I do that about a couple times a week, and I think I got myself down to the point where I was doing it in 40 minutes. Started out about an hour, and I shaved off about 20 minutes off of that, walking at a brisk pace, which was nice. I don't really do a lot of exercise stuff like that, but anyway, then I came out to this river trail another time, and I walked part of it. This is where I've seen the moose I got pictures of just the other month. They came out here, the people with their dogs. That's why I don't come out here as much. It's right there. It's been a nice spot. I've taken pictures. You can see the mountains and things. It's very lovely, but it is pretty popular. It is pretty crowded. Hot Sulphur Springs, that park there, lots more wildlife, a lot less people. Usually not people, from what I can tell, because I see a lot of the same people out there, it's people who live in that town going to that park to walk their dogs and things. It's not a lot of people traveling. I am. I come from here and drive 30, 40 minutes out that way to do that. Maybe if I do it tomorrow, if I can make the time tomorrow, maybe I'll do the drive out there and do the same situation with the cameras. So I can show that too, but that'll just be part of another vlog. It won't be quite the same as this. But yeah, here we go. We are at the end now. There is a nice little pond right there. There's a couple of those for fishing. There's one right there out the side. We are going to turn here. UPS store was right over there. Not a UPS store, it was a computer store. I don't know why I said that. I think I said that earlier. Of the few places I went to, we had to go to the grocery store. We had car trouble at the grocery store parking lot. That's where my girlfriend's car broke down. Coming because this lane turns straight. I made that mistake the first time I came here driving in a moving truck. I turned right onto that one, didn't realize the right lane was going to end, and then I turned into that parking lot and decided to turn around right there in the middle, and there was room for it, but man, it was not easy in a big moving truck. Anyway. This is the road. You gotta go real slow on this road. This is the one that has all the signs about it and stuff leading up to where I live. All kinds of buildings here, very pretty. Not going fully up there, but a little river on the side there. And then the last spot that I'll come to. I have been here quite a few times because it was literally on the way home. Just a big dirt patch over there. There's actually two ways to get down to the trail down there if you are walking, which I've been quite a number of times. And one of them is this kind of parking area right here, which is where when they plow this road, they plow and put all of the snow right here along this bank. You don't really pull off and park here quite as much. And at one point, I think you actually could drive down to the river trail, but you no longer can. And that's it. That has been a drive around Fraser, Tabernash, Granby, up to Lake Granby, and whatever other lake that is. Actually, I wonder what will happen if I plug in my phone. Come on. I plugged it into battery banks to keep them going because, of course, my car can't provide enough power to keep it charged and going. Oh. While plugging it in reversed. Okay, cool. Let's pull up the map here. Zoom out. Yes, that was Fraser, and then we go up along this road, travel up to here to Lake Granby, and then there is this one. Come on, zoom in. Further up, Shadow Mountain Lake. Oh, Grand Lake. Yeah, Grand Lake. Grand Lake's the big one. Of course, it's Grand County. How could I not remember that? Probably because I've only been there once. Is the town called? What is this town here? Why does it not have a name? It's also a little difficult to see. There we go. I can block that. Why won't you tell me the name of that town? Come on, I've been there. It's nice. You drive through it. It's a little tourist area destination before you get to Rocky Mountain National Park. Well, it's probably named Grand something. But I don't remember what. That's fine. You'll see it. If you look on a map, you'll see it. It's probably... And then you continue going and you get to Rocky Mountain National Park, which is a pretty place. Yep, Lake Granby, aside Granby, and then they come back here, and then we get Fraser and Winter Park. That has been where I have lived for the last year. That has been the view that I have seen every morning. When I look out, I see the mountains. This has been where I've lived. This has been driving around. I will be moving. We will be moving off the mountain, so we might get some driving down the mountain footage here in the next 2 weeks. Which, again, none of this is going to come out for at least a month because I don't plan on editing anything until we're fully set up. And then I will have to start exploring new places. It will be interesting. I've started checking it out. There's a couple state parks in the area. We're not in Denver, thankfully. A little outside of it. That's about as far as I'll say. We'll see how pans out in what areas I wind up exploring. If it weren't quite so far away from here, it'd be nice to come back up, especially to go back to that park at Hot Sulphur Springs, because that park was, it may very well be the best place that I have ever come to see wildlife regularly, birds especially. I've seen wildlife at other places, but that may be I've seen the most and consistently always see something when I go there. It's a very happening spot for the birds. Yeah. Anyway, I hope this comes together in a way that I'm happy about. I don't remember if I parked here on the winter drive version. I hope so, because it's always been very pretty. If not, maybe I'll slap in an image over top of it, because I know I've come here several times and parked exactly here or walked here from my place and taken pictures of the area. You get a very pretty shot here. I don't know how much the camera can see, but so the river is flowing right there. I'm pretty sure that's the Colorado River. You get a bridge, you walk over it. It's a very nice place. This is where I saw the moose. I said that. I've seen several birds here. This is where I saw the mountain bluebirds in the parking lot. Yeah. Anyway, it's been a good time. I'm glad I got out to do this. I really wanted to. It's been a while. It's been on my mind, and I was afraid that I would get too busy packing and things like that and not make the time to do this before I left. But this is where I have lived for the past year, and I don't ever expect to live here again. It is way too expensive. It's a very pretty place, and maybe if we were in a different situation where we were making six figures each probably, which will never happen with our jobs. That's not how the education system works here, and that's certainly not how the retail e-commerce industry works. It's just, I'm never going to make that kind of money. So I highly doubt that we will ever be able to come back to places like this and live in tourist destination-y, really pretty areas. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for the view of the mountains. There's still snow on the mountains, which is interesting. I think I started saying that before. There was not snow on the mountains when we first moved here. I know for a fact that there wasn't. And it was pretty interesting because we've had a lot of dust. Like having to keep the doors and windows open because because no air conditioning. There's been a lot of dust blowing through, which is interesting because it rains a lot. And that's like, they call it the mud season. The locals refer to that when you move out of winter and then all the snow starts melting. There's been record snowfalls and record snow runoff. There's been that stuff. Apparently still technically in a drought, according to the weather announcements that I've been looking at that the government has said. But anyway, yeah, there's just a little bit of snow left on the mountains and the peaks over there that you can see. And that was not like that when we moved here. Exactly a year ago here in July, there was not still snow on these mountains. It was completely just forest. So it's interesting to see that there still is. It hasn't snowed since May. We've had two full months of full sun, bright weather, rain a lot. It rains not quite every day, but most days we will get a thunderstorm rolling through or something. It's been very, if it wasn't so expensive, I would not have a problem staying here. The problem is the cost. And also you can get most everything online. It's annoying compared to when you live down in the city with things like that. And it really sucks not having a mailbox. I didn't think that would matter as much as it is, but the amount of issues that we've had for the fact that you cannot use a P.O. box on any online form for any official reason ever. No one will accept a P.O. box as your mailing address, even though that is my mailing address, and they want the physical location, which does not technically exist. When you look it up on any map, there is no physical location, and you enter it in, and every single thing, you can't, I talked about it, there's basically nothing to shop here. So if you need to get things, which people need things, you're ordering it online. Now, we got lucky in the fact that UPS at least knows the location because they have to deliver out this area so much that they will come out to there and they know what it means when you put in that address. But no official website, nothing official exists, and you will always get we couldn't find your address. Are you sure that's the one you want to use? And some places won't give you that option. Some places will not let you enter a custom address that is not officially recognized by the United States Post Office. And because we had to get a P.O. box, there is not a post office address for this place. So you are kind of sunk on that, and it has been quite a hassle. I literally experienced that just yesterday trying to order some stuff for the move from other websites that I don't usually order from, but they were better pricing and deals and trying to get stuff delivered. And they went, "Whoa, are you sure you want to deliver to this? This isn't a real address. You don't live there." please just send the package. UPS will get it to me. I know what it is. Or if you send it to the post office, it's got to go. That's the other fun part. You got to put the digits of your P.O. box in your name, and so many fields online will not accept numbers as part of your name. They go, that's not valid characters, and won't let you put it in. And so then you have to put, and like, that's what the post office told us to do, because that's what they look for. When they look for the name, they see the last digits on the end of it. It's a nightmare. It is a nightmare. That has been quite a hassle. And I'm glad to be moving back to a place where I'll be able to get mail delivered and not have to make a trip to the post office all the time. Anyway, it's been very nice. The weather, well, besides all the snow, which I got used to the snow. I don't mind the snow. It was a lot of snow. I'd like to move somewhere with not so much snow, which is what I think we'll get when we go off the mountain. We're up not quite at 9,000 feet. It's like 8,500, somewhere close to that. So it's been altitude. I'm really interested to see what it'll be like getting back down to, down off the mountains close to 5,000, which is what it was in Wyoming. So it will be quite interesting to see how that affects me, if at all. Because it really didn't do much to me moving the altitude from Georgia to Wyoming. I didn't really have a lot of issues with that. Anyway, that is what we have done today. I took the time this Sunday morning to drive out, look around, show the area that I've been living for the last year, and that's what I did. So I hope you enjoyed coming along. This has been the area. Now that I can reveal more or less everything, I'm not going to give specifics on what building I live in the Meadow Ridge Resort, because that just seems like too much, and I don't know, having an address like that, what that would do in the future for doxing locations or having people's addresses if they need a previous address. Never going to give out the actual street address, but anyway, maybe, hopefully not in a year, hopefully in more than 1 year, hopefully a couple years from now, because I know we're not going to be able to stay in this next apartment forever, but I really don't want to do another move in a year. My plan is to be able to unpack and stay in one location for a longer period of time. I'll do this again. This is something that I've been wanting to do, something I talked about doing, and I'm glad I got it done. And the mic's pointing it that way, so hopefully everything's been picked up. It should. It should, just by picking up the general area. It'll be a little noisy with all the road noise and the car stuff, but anyway, that's it. I'm going to go now. I've got things to pack and things to get done, and that was all I wanted to do today, so I got it done as far as this. And hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to get out and go see the wildlife one last time before the move. Get to walk around, maybe see if the friendly guy was there who I've talked to most times that I go out, and I've seen him. We do have some pleasant conversation. The other wildlife photographer who goes to that park, maybe I'll be able to see him and thank him for his wisdom and telling me about that location and things like that one last time before I go. That would be cool. But yeah, that'll do it.